Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to build a Paladin Warlock class in Baldur's Gate 3, also known as a Padlock or a Lockadin. There's a few different names for it, but first thing, we're going to start off as a Paladin. Now we're only going to do 5 levels of Paladin. For the subclass, we're going to go with Oath of Vengeance. I found this to be one of the most damaging, so I like this one personally myself. For abilities, we're going to dump strength if you're in Act 3, as you're going to get these gauntlets that I'm wearing here. That'll boost your strength up to 23, allow you to dump that and put it into other stats. If you don't have these gauntlets yet, if you're like Act 1, Act 2, I would keep your strength up high because you're going to need it to make sure you land your hits. But the reason that we dump our strength will be clear to you in a moment. So we're going to go through here and start as Paladin. And we're going to add 5 levels to it. The reason for this being is we're going to get that extra attack at level 5. And then the Warlock also gets an extra attack. So we can attack 3 times like a fighter, which is crazy, considering we got ranged options as well. Our fighting stance, I like to go with great weapons fighting and using a 2-handed weapon. I find that to be the most damaging output. And for spells, it doesn't matter a whole lot. We're going to leave command on. I think that's a really powerful tool, but it should look something like this. We're going to go command, Searing Smite, Wrathful Smite, and Thunderous Smite, as well as Cure Wounds. I think it's nice to have those there because your Cleric will do most of the other options there. If you're running with no Cleric, then you might want to change your build a little bit. But it's nice to have different types of damage like Fire and Thunder because there's different resistances. It's good to just have options to cover that. Heroism is pretty decent, or Compelled Duel, just really the preference between whatever those two you like. If you're more tanky, Compelled Duel is good, but you don't really need to use that. Next, at level 4, we get the Lay Hands charges, which is pretty powerful because it gives us a heal. And for our feat, this is pretty big. What we're going to go with is the Great Weapons Master, as we're using a 2-handed weapon here. This gives us an extra attack if we hit a critical or end up killing a target. So that's going to be huge because you sometimes attack twice. If you hit a critical with a Divine Smite, and you can even set up criticals, which I'll show you in a moment. But we're going to get a lot of damage out of this. As well, we lose a -5 to our attack roll, but get a +10 to our damage. It's huge. We can also toggle that off, but I prefer to leave it on because -5% hit chance is not as bad compared to, like, in the end game you're going to be hitting most things, and that extra +10 damage is huge. So this is the max we're going to take our Paladin to. The reason for that is we get that extra attack here, and we get a level 2 and a level 1 spell slot there, so that extra attack is huge. For spells, we start to get our level 2 spells, so I would take off these 2 and probably put on 8. And I like to have Branding Smite just in case something is turning invisible. It's nice to have that option to be able to just shut that down, nip that in the bud. Now, we don't want level 6 Paladin. It does get a nice thing with our protection, but what's better is when we go into our Warlock, we get a crazy amount of stuff here. So we're going to keep Eldritch Blast. This is a crazy powerful cantrip that we want. I also like to use Friends sometimes. Minor Illusion's good because you can get enemies to go into a certain area and then you can just drop a fireball on them. So there's a lot of nice cantrips here that we get. I'm going to go with Friends though because that can be very useful when you're talking to people. I like that because your Tav or your main character is going to be talking the most, so I recommend using Friends there. For our subclass, this is important. There's 3 different ones. We get the Fiend, which gives us Armor of Agathis, Arms of Hadar, and then Dark One's Blessing. This is huge. This is the one we're going to go with because it gives you temporary health points, which are massive. Whenever you reduce enemies hit points to 0, you get +4 health, and this grows as we level up. And these 2 spells are nice to have. Grand Old One is pretty decent too, but I think that the Fiend is the absolute best. For spells, this is really just up to you what you prefer. We already got Command and Protection of Good and Evil. Hellish Rebuke is pretty nice just to have earlier on in the game, and we're going to go with Hex as well. Hex is pretty good. It's a bonus action, and it can make your attacks deal more damage, which is always welcomed because we're really a damage dealer when we're a Padlock. You deal a lot of damage, I must say. I was able to one-shot Orin with this build. So spells, we can add in like a Witch Bolt, or really just depends what you think works best for you. Expeditious Retreat is pretty decent. I might throw that on because it's important to move around as a Paladin because you want to set up smites often. Now, Agonizing Blast will add our Charisma modifier to the damage that Eldritch Blast deals. We have a high Charisma. We're going to roll with that. And then, as well, Repelling Blast is nice too because it's going to add a pushback to our Eldritch Blast, so we get that extra damage and a pushback. It's huge. It brings extra amounts of damage, which is really beneficial for us here. So we're going to roll with that. Next level, we get more Warlock class or spell slots, which restore on a short rest, which is huge. For this level 2 spell, there's two really good ones. I like Scorching Ray to add fire damage, or Cloud of Daggers, which can just hold up an entryway, deal a massive amount of damage. Our Pact Boon, this is huge. We don't want Pact of the Chain, just gives us a Quasit. Pact of the Blade is what we want. Pact of the Tomb is okay, but Pact of the Blade, the reason we want this, we can summon a weapon to our hand. That's not what we're gonna do. It uses the spellcasting ability modifier and damage, so we can make a weapon, but we can also bind our Pact weapon. So this binds our main hand weapon. Its damage becomes magical. You can't drop or throw it, and if you weren't proficient, you would become proficient in it, which we're a paladin, we're proficient in everything. But this adds our charisma modifier to the damage that we're dealing. So a spellcasting ability modifier, that's huge. As a paladin, we're usually using strength when we attack things, but we can now add charisma to it too. It's huge. The damage output that you can get is insane with this build. So next, level 4 Warlock, we're gonna gain another cantrip. So this can really depend what you want. Mage Hand is really nice to have. I really like Minor Illusion before a battle. It can clump enemies all together and then you just drop a bunch of attacks right on them with a high initiative. For spells, Scorching Ray, that's a pretty solid one. Being able to split your damage and upcast it is huge. And for our feat, this is really big. It depends what you think you need for your build. Ability improvement's always a nice one because you can jump up your charisma a little bit higher. I really like, there's a few that I like. Warcaster's good for keeping your concentration. Savage Attacker's nice so you can deal more damage on every attack. Sentinel's good if they come into range of your melee. It's pretty decent. I'm just gonna go with ability improvement here and jump up our charisma a little bit higher. You'll see why in a moment. And strength, again, we can dump it if we have these gauntlets here. Class features, we get this nice deepened pack. So pleased with your service, your otherworldly patron added a new boon to the terms of your pact. Blade pact holders gain an extra attack with their pact weapon. So we get that +1 attack from being a paladin and a +1 attack from deepened pack. So we get 3 attacks like a fighter, and we get this at level 10. This is earlier than a fighter gets it when they get it at level 11. So this is a pretty good build, not gonna lie. One thing I do know is that in honor mode, you don't actually get this extra attack. So this is for every other mode but honor. And then if you're watching this, you're probably not playing on honor mode. For spells, Fireball is just blows my mind. It's powerful. Hunger of Hadar is pretty useful too, but I'm just gonna go with Fireball. That thing is crazy. For our Eldritch invocations, we can really go, there's not really a best one here for our build. It just depends what you think would benefit yourself the best. Devil's Sight gives you better vision. Proficiency in deception and persuasion is pretty nice. Beast Speech is what I use usually because speak with animals is really nice. But this can give us skills, deception, and persuasion, which are good, especially if you're talking a lot. Being a warlock paladin can be very beneficial of being the lead face of your party, so we'll just roll with that. And it is Warlock level 6. We do get a nice subclass feature again here with the Dark One's Own Luck, calling your patron to change your fate and add a 1d10 to an ability check. So this is good if you're in conversations, you can add that in. It's very beneficial. 1d10 actually adds a lot. For our spell, this can be anything. If you like to cast counterspell a lot, you can do that, but I'd rather someone like Gale or someone that has more spell slots be able to use that. Hunger of Hadar is a great one, and Stink Cloud here, Stinking Cloud is pretty solid because this prevents any creature from taking an action, which is pretty big. I like Hunger of Hadar though, area of effect control. That's kind of what we need in this build. And for our final level up here, we get more Eldritch Invocations, which is, it's okay, it's nice to have. And we get a level 4 spell. So this is pretty nice. We can add in Fire Shield, Wall of Fire. I personally go with Wall of Fire. You can get some benefits from Dimension Door because you can take you and an ally up close. So you can take like you and your fighter up into the fray of things and you can hit a smite and then the fighter can attack. But we're going with Walls of Fire. Now we do get some extra ones here. One with Shadows, Mask of Many Faces, Beast Speech, Signs of Ill Omen, Mire to Mind, Sculptor's Flesh. This is a pretty good one. I like Polymorph. Polymorph's pretty useful, and you can cast it with level 4 spell slot, which is pretty decent. It just really depends what you think works best for your build. Like there's one that'll add Silence there. Dreadful Word will give you Confusion. It just depends on what you think you need for your build, but there it is. That is how you build a Padlock, a Paladin Warlock in Baldur's Gate 3. So for our items, I like the Gauntlet of the hill giant strength, because if you look at our character sheet here, we got 23 strength, 24 charisma. So we're blasting things really, really good. +7 to charisma checks, +12 to saving throws. So we hit a lot of damage with this, and it's crazy. You can one-shot enemies like Orin with this. So very powerful. And what I said earlier about the critical hits, the Killer Sweetheart will give you a free critical hit. Plus, if you used any of the illithid powers, you get an extra one as well. So I really like it. Amulet of Ball is another nice thing to add on there. When concentrating on a spell, add 1 to 4 psychic damage was nice, because we have a lot of concentrations. We do need the Birthright Hat to add that +2 charisma. But there it is. That's the build that I run with in Baldur's Gate 3. You can beat the game with this build. It's crazy powerful. 23 strength, 24 charisma. But there it is. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. And if you did, please hit that subscribe button below. And I'll see you in the next one.